Welcome back. So while the latest big story about the Gupta family this week is the shocking revelation that money officially meant to uplift a community in the Free State through the Vrede Dairy Farm was actually channeled to the Gupta family, the swiftness of the National Prosecutions Authority's Assets Forfeiture Unit in responding to preservation orders issued by the courts has been equally impressive. The NPA says it is unable to comment on the process until some legal admin has been concluded. So we went to the people who were some of the first to push the NPA to do something. One of the organizations, of course, is ALTA, that organization undoing tax abuse, and the other is the South African Federation of Trade Unions, who's led by Zwelinzima Vavi, and we've got Zwelinzima Vavi in studio with us. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Is the House
Thanks
of
for having us.
Are the cards finally beginning to fall?
Very interesting signs. Quite clearly, every day we're learning something new that is happening towards a progressive addressing one of the most important challenges South Africa had to face over a period of time from now. What is more important is that we're no longer just talking about the public sector corruption. There's also big fishes that we are bringing into the stream from the private sector, the big multinational corporations who came here claiming to be experts on governance like McKinsey, who have looted South Africa 1.1 billion officially. We now know that they're saying that they are willing not only to pay 1.1 billion, but they will pay 600 million more, which we didn't know about. And we call on them to disclose completely, to tell us about the activities in South Africa so that we may go to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
We're happy that Trillion is finally on the back foot in South Africa. It must pay 595 million rands to Eskom and Transnet, again, for falsifying and making claims that they had done some work when they know they didn't do any work. And the net is closing on all of them.
Yeah.
Yet last night we saw the resignation of the CFO of Eskom, Anil Singh, who was also a very important player in this network of crooks and thieves feeding on the carcass of the state-owned enterprises, Eskom in particular. We're very angry to hear that Eskom is now battling even to pay salaries of its own employees, a company giant in every meaning of that word, which have been a pride of South Africa for decades, has been almost collapsed by this network of crooks who have no shame whatsoever they don't care about the history, they don't care about the future. But now, finally, Vrede Farm story is absolutely important.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Talk to me about the Vrede Farm,
Just
because
imagine.
a lot of people are going to fall here as well. Very well-known figures as well.
And very high up in the chain as well. These guys make a claim that they're going to empower the rural communities of Vrede, and that they have a dairy farm scheme that they want to implement at the cost of a cool 220 million rands. Even before they have laid the first brick to build an infrastructure for this, 10 million rands of that money had gone into the pocket of Atul Gupta. Now, 30 million gone to the wedding. Another 30 million gone to deposit a private jet. A 19 million rands gone into buying luxury cars. A 100 million rands into various Gupta-linked companies. And the MEC of that time, when this was happening, is now the Minister of Minerals, Msebenzi Zwane, and the Premier, which was supposed to be overseeing all of this, is Ace Magashula, who is currently the Secretary General of the ANC. To all of them, we're saying, you guys have to answer.
Yeah.
All of you, from Atul Gupta to all of those company executives, to Msebenzi Zwane, Magashula, and everybody else that ought to have known. You can't tell me that you don't
know about it.
No,
I mean,
come on, that's nonsense.
There's so much. I mean, the Free State giving Astina farm, rent-free, for 99 years lease.
Can you believe it?
Paid 500 million into the project, a project that had produced absolutely nothing. All of these things coming out here. And still admission yesterday, which we'd all known about, but I think the SG making comments yesterday, it's known that my son does work for the Guptas. Now, again, there's a vested interest there. I mean, what did you make of those comments from the SG yesterday?
We reject them with the contempt that they deserve. He can go and tell fools who wants to believe that nonsense, that he didn't know, even though his son is working for the Guptas, even though he was the presiding premier, and even though these reports should have been tabled in the meetings of the executive of government, when Zwelinzima was accounting, and you can't turn around and say you don't know that up to 90% of the funds have been diverted into private use of people who your son is working for, who are your friends politically, who you attend their weddings and everything. Come on, give us a break. The Secretary General of the ANC have to answer questions. We believe that he must be subjected into a lifestyle auditing together with all of the friends that were in that executive, so that we can ask and answer a question. Why would he keep quiet until the asset forfeiture unit strike on them? Yeah. And by the way, we only have praises to sing for the asset forfeiture unit under the leadership of Advocate Mulele. They have been doing South Africa very proud. We're happy that finally there is a team within the NPA. And in our view, the NPA is captured. We're making no praise for its head, Sean Abrams. But at least we think that we found a partner in the form of the asset forfeiture unit, which is not looking on the other side when the citizens bring hard evidence to show that there is looting here. Yeah, in this case, we brought the files, we showed them that this is what is happening, and they acted.
Yeah. So I want to ask you now, in terms of the leadership change within the ANC, obviously we're seeing a new president now, Cyril Ramaphosa, taking over the reins of the ANC. You've had big issues with President Jacob Zuma, and you haven't been shy about that. You've spoken out about him, and I still think you are still adamant that he needs to resign and to be held accountable for what you believe is state capture. But are you still considering 2019 to run as an independent party in the elections if the ANC still don't get their house in order?
Just a minute before I go to the today. We are equally disappointed about the silence, the legendary silence of the ANC president, that he was a deputy president when all of this was happening. And he chose convenience of keeping silent to protect his position and his job at the expense of the destruction of the country he claims to be loving, he claims to love. And absolutely disappointed knowing him personally and his history. Yeah. And having been a shop steward and having him inspiring a host of generation of freedom fighters in the 1980s. That people will now choose convenience at the expense of their own country is absolutely disappointing. But let's acknowledge there is a change of political environment. There's no doubt about it. And I suspect that the honest officials in the NPA, Hawks, police, will now feel emboldened, that they will now begin to act. He has made a call which is absolutely important. We want to repeat that call. Any of you in the security, whether it's intelligence or police or NPA or Hawks, who is sitting on the information that can help South Africa to fight against the scourge of corruption that is threatening our future and the future of our children. Please act now. Yeah. This is an opportunity to close the chapter of the Zuma era and all that he represents. He was not acting alone, and we must emphasize there's no such a thing that one person can cause so much destruction. There was a team of overwhelming leaders of the ANC backing him all the steps of the way. But the officials must now act.
Yeah, which I think is what's happening right now, and we're seeing them acting quite fast. But I suppose one has to see what comes of it and still that official acting on it. But this is, it's a big story, but as you say, 1 trillion rand has been lost to state capture, and that is possibly could even grow. We don't even know. And just one final question. I need to wrap the interview as we've got the Premier we need to talk to. Do you have any idea where the Guptas are? Are they in South Africa still?
They are in South Africa. If I was them, I would be looking at my passport every day to check the expiry date, as well as to check whether what is the price of a single ticket to buy. But that's why we're asking that the authorities must act now. We're not interested in getting the money back. Look, the former Minister of Finance estimates that we're losing 100 billion rands a year to corruption in South Africa. Come on. This 1.6 billion is just a tip of an iceberg.
Exactly.
The sources so within the assets forfeiture unit saying they are chasing 50 billion rands, and they have 17 people in their list of people who should be arrested.
Right.
We hope that they act on that soon before these guys take the next plane to Dubai.
We leave this conversation here for now. I know we'll have you back to talk a little bit more, but Zwelinzima Vavi is the former General Secretary of the ANC Tripartite Alliance partner, COSATU, and now the General Secretary of the South African Federation of Trade Unions. His organization was one of the very first ones to push the NPA to act on the fraudulent and corrupt activities of the Gupta family. We take a break. After this, Day Zero looms, and the Premier, Helen Zille, is here to talk about it. Stay tuned.